You listening to rockslamradio.com. From all studios to the world, we bring you the finest in quality entertainment. So grab a groupie, throw some horns, and settle in for another fine show from rockslamradio.com.
It's gonna be a long, long time. Touchdown brings me around against the fine. I'm not the man they think I ever had. Oh no, I'm a rocket man. Rocket man, burning out the
Good evening, Tampa Bay, and all the 55 countries listening to our communique. This is the RockitMan Show, and we're going to talk about rock music and maybe even play a little music via the CD player. But I want to introduce again my co-hosts. We got have Frank here,
how you doing,
and
guys?
we got David J.
Hey, people out there, how you doing out there? Yeah, Rockman, all right.
All right, yeah, we're going to talk about a lot of rock music and stuff. You know, I'm still waiting for Led Zeppelin to make an appearance. They're supposed to be touring now, from what my sources say, but who's to say? You know, it's like trying to find out who bombed the Twin Towers.
I've been hearing that rumor since Jason Bonham picked up Styx. So.
Oh, wow.
We'll have to wait and see how that plays out.
What age was that?
That I couldn't tell you. Here's what I can tell you, though, before we get rolling, Roger. I wanted to tell you this on the air. You truly now are officially international. I got to give a shout-out to John and Bev and Bruce and Janet up in Canada. Contacted me after the show last week. My friends Nick, Kimmy, and Martin out in the UK. So this new medium sounds like it's catching on, Rod. You're doing a good job, man.
Well, I'm glad to say that we're getting noticed somewhat. So because I love the fact that it's not just local; it's all around. You know, I always say good evening Tampa Bay because that's where we're at, is in the Tampa Bay area, Florida. Not to be confused with Tampa, Kentucky.
Never heard of it.
You know, we got talkwad.com here at local, and then we have the international global media, 55 countries around the world. And I would say, I don't know why it's not the whole world, but at least we focus on 55 countries, so there's a huge potential audience around
Actually,
the world.
55 countries is like a guess. I'm not really sure how far we're actually reaching out to.
Do they measure that? Is there any way for them to measure that?
I'm not sure. Whatever countries receive the internet.
Well, I mean, that's just about every country. I think even Al-Qaeda gets the internet. I mean,
that's how they operate.
Oh, yeah. Let's not go there.
Let's not go there.
I'm just saying, it was nice. I heard from some friends on Facebook, and I got some emails, and I know we reached Canada and the UK last week, and they enjoyed the show, so I wanted to pass along those shout-outs and thank them for tuning in.
Yes, we want to thank everybody on the international front for tuning in, because we'd like to think that we can express some quality broadcasting without without cussing or swearing or something like that, and making it clean. It's not like a comedic thing that some of the people that I know that cuss and swear while they're doing their comedic thing.
Although I'm sure there are probably a few people out there laughing at us.
Oh, yeah, that's all right. As long as we're entertaining.
That interesting international sense and flavor is very important in the music world, because a lot of times artists don't make it in the United States right away, but they have to go to Great Britain, to pick up. And Jimi Hendrix was a perfect example. I've got some information about Jimi Hendrix's track Somewhere, taken from a new album of his. People, Hell, and Angels can now be streamed online. The psychedelic blues jam track was recorded in 1968 as the guitar icon experimented with sonic directions for the follow-up to Electric Ladyland. It features Stephen Stills on bass and Buddy Miles on drums, man. So again, this is posthumous unheard of record, and it's still coming out. And Jimi Hendrix, again, built the #1 guitar player by Rolling Stone magazine of all time.
Yeah, and that's absolutely exciting, man. It's what? How many years has it been?
Since
now?
'68, man.
Yeah,
Well, at least from
68.
this one.
I don't want to give
Over
away my
50.
age, but hey, to have something like that coming out now, man, it's great. I can't wait to hear that. Myself.
Wasn't that the same year that Jimi Hendrix got booed off the stage while performing while opening up for the Monkees?
I don't know, man.
He got booed off the stage. Yeah, I can't get over that.
Oh, well, that cat made guitars do things that nobody ever even dreamed of. I mean, think of music today.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you got to go back to Jimmy. I mean, you have to go back to Jimmy.
Well,
Jimmy and
posted
Les
is-
Paul.
Yeah, unheard of record. The title of the record is People, Hell, and Angels. It'll be released on March 4th in a classic rock fan pack, which includes the full 12-track album, 124-page magazine, and a giant poster. So again, this is something that's coming out right now on March 4th as we speak. Brand new music by Jimi Hendrix, people. Jimi Hendrix still lives, and there's new stuff out there from him. Isn't that amazing?
Oh yeah, there'd be
No,
brand
it
new
is.
music by the Doors, but Jim Morrison just wants to hang out in France and do nothing else.
Oh yeah, along with Kennedy, right? Is that
Yeah,
that the
that's it.
Break on through,
Don't forget
baby.
the
Yeah.
Kennedy papers.
big break on through? Absolutely. Hey, that was a good one, Dave.
Well, I'll tell you another one here. It's very big in the news item. A lot of people thought that David Bowie was out of music. David Bowie out of music since 2004, since he had a heart attack then. And then he ended public appearances for 2 years. But one of his people, Visconti, says Bowie releasing a real rock album as we speak. David Bowie producer Tony Visconti says surprise album the next day is a real rock record, despite the story introverted nature of the first single, Where Are We Now? The icon astonished fans by releasing the new track and details of the full-length work on his 66th birthday. That's, again, David Bowie's 66, and that was yesterday, which was Tuesday of last week. Many believed he'd retired from making music. He had also been rumored that his health was failing after he suffered a heart attack in 2004. Then ended public appearances 2 years later. But Visconti, who now worked with Bowie on 13 releases, tells the BBC, we all know he had a health scare in 2004, but David is extremely healthy. He's rosy-cheeked, and he smiles a lot. He still has that power in his voice. When he starts singing, I have to back off and leave him in front of the microphone. On Friday, David Bowie, guitarist, had a hard time keeping album a secret. David Bowie, longtime guitarist Earl Slick, admits it was no fun keeping it quiet about new album the next day. Bowie shocked fans by releasing a new single, Where Are We Now, on his 66th birthday on Tuesday, revealing details of his first studio work in a decade. The track comes from Bowie's forthcoming album, of course, the next day, to be released on March 8th in Australia, March 12th in the United States, and March 11th in other countries. The album will be released as a 14-track standard edition and a 17-track deluxe version, and both are now available for pre-order on iTunes. The new album is themed on Bowie's time in Berlin. He is seen looking in on footage of the auto repair shop beneath the apartment he lived in long ago, with the stark images of the city at the time and a lyric constantly raising the question, where are we now? That goes back to when, before the Iron Curtain fell, so there was a communist influence in East Germany there. And so, again, he's kind of thinking about where, with the communist bloc falling, and that's the question to the title of his song, Where Are We Now? So, again, new songs by David Bowie. He's not out of it. He must be coming back strong, and, we'll be waiting for that in March, and it's happening right now, people.
So is there a tour planned by him? Or?
No tour at this time, just the release of new material, the album and the title song, and that, which is reflective of a political past that people are wondering, has it been effective in the sense that the communist bloc has fallen? We still have other problems in the world that's even more monumental and even ongoing. At least in those days, the lines were drawn. We knew who opposing forces are. It was more conventional. Now we have that terror element that is very dangerous and ongoing.
So, what I would like to do is say that David Bowie, If you're listening to our broadcast, call us at 727-597-4022. We'd love to have you on the show sometime, even if you're just calling in.
And you know there's going to be a tour because that's just the way it's done now. They'll release that music as a feeler, and if enough interest is generated, we'll see them on tour again. Why not? Mick Jagger's still doing it.
And now the technique is that they do the whole album for the live performance now. Tours are being themed per album as opposed to a variety of songs, and that's a big focus on that production. And mentioning the Rolling Stones tour is in the works. The Rolling Stones are discussing details of a 2013 world tour. Frontman Mick Jagger has confirmed. The unsurpassing news comes after they played a brief series of 50th anniversary shows last year. At their final scheduled appearance in New Jersey, Jagger told the crowd, "See you again." Now he tells Rolling Stone, "There's been quite a few offers. I'm going to see what is on the table and discuss it with everyone. We'll announce it when we figured it out." So again, Rolling Stones will be on tour most likely this year, spring and summer.
But they won't be starring in the Super Bowl this year.
No, I caught that pay-per-view. I don't know if you guys caught that or not, but they had a pay-per-view of that concert you just talked about in Jersey, I believe it was on a few weeks ago. It was rocking, man. I mean, I was surprised.
Yeah, they did two at O2 Arena in London last year. They did the 12-12-12 benefit concert for Sandy, and they did two in New Jersey at the Prudential Center. So, again, they've done 5 last year, and so, that was a feeler for them. They've got their regular song sets, and they've got a huge amount of material that over the years that they can play. So, and everybody loves it. They're all, it's like the Beatles in the old days. The top 10 songs were their songs. Everybody's thought they're all number 1 songs.
Well, that debate still rages today amongst some of the circles. Who did more? Who was better for music? The Beatles or the Rolling Stones? And you got people on both sides of the aisle now.
But now you got to say the Rolling Stones have stayed together, man. 50th year.
I was just going there with that.
You got to almost say they're the greatest band ever. Of course, Led Zeppelin there, but again, look what happened to Led Zeppelin. It's very hard to analyze that. It would be interesting.
No, I say that makes them the king. I mean, I'm a big Beatles fan. I always was.
Mm-hmm.
I preferred the Beatles over the Stones back in the day at the time. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've come to appreciate them more over the years. But what you said is exactly right, Dave. And they have been together nonstop, on tour, playing, recording, hanging together for 50 years. That makes them king.
That's amazing. 50 years of anything, man.
Yeah, I
much less a band staying together and playing.
Yeah, man, no question. And that Jagger could still move without,
like
he does without breaking something, a hip or whatever.
Keith Richards and Ron Wood. Gee, man.
Yeah, man.
Hey, you gotta like this building. They have the cutest people, girls working on, and doing some of the cleanup around here.
Pay attention to your show, Rod.
Yes, that's right. Now, when it comes to the Beatles, now there have been a lot of people that have said if Monkees had proper management, they would have far surpassed the Beatles.
No, I don't think so. The Monkees were a commercial entity when they hit the television airwaves that was kind of mocking or parodying. Parodying, excuse me, is the word. They were parodying the Beatles, and that they were marketed for television, much like the Partridge Family were. There weren't any really real musicians till later on. When they started going. So they were kind of studio guys. They were produced. I wouldn't even put them, not that I don't like the Monkees, don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't put them in the same class at all.
Yeah, they were, later on, they started doing some tours and stuff like that. But I think half the band didn't even know how to play an instrument.
I mean, Davy Jones actually sung, and Mickey Dolenz did learn how to play it. The only real musician among them when they started was Michael Nesmith. And I don't know how many people know this, but it was his mother who invented whiteout.
Wow, man.
Whiteout, man.
Whiteout for typewriters?
Yeah.
No kidding.
His mother, Michael Nesmith's mother, was the one who invented whiteout. So,
that stands to reason how he got on TV. Mama paid for it all.
I'm sure it was far after, it had to be after the Monkees. I don't remember whiteout in the 60s, though it may have been there. I don't know.
Well, getting back to Jimi Hendrix and getting booed off, off a concert, and you think about that. But Jack White, he's got the other way, man. He confronts the audience. He puts the audience. He picks somebody out in the front row and he says he doesn't like this and that. He gets them heckling and booing and that, and then he gets them all pumped up. Jack White's releasing a rare early recording from Bowling Alley concert. Jack White's Third Man Records will be released a rare live Jack White and the Bricks recording as part of their forthcoming Vault package. The album Jack White and the Bricks live on the Garden Bowl Lanes. Garden Bowl Lanes will be released on bowling pin white vinyl and will feature 9 tracks recorded live in 1999 at a Detroit bowling alley during the first concert performed by the short-lived group. The band featured raconteur Brendan Benson and guitar Kevin Dayock, the Waxwings on bass, and Ben Blackwell of the Dirt Bombs on drums. According to the label, the live show took place on White's 24th birthday, July 9th, 1999, sharing a bill with the Greenhorns. The stage itself is actually situated on lanes 11 and 14 in the bowling alley. Yes, the actual bowling lanes itself of the legendary Garden Bowl in Detroit. Again, it is going to be a new release of old music by Jack White going back from 1999, so that should be interesting for folks to pick up.
Oh, Dave, here's just a plethora of information tonight.
Yes,
it really is.
plethora.
Well, I couldn't get it on my show last night, man. We went to the Forest, and Steve Hernandez and Nicole Cagnano was on. It was such a those guys, I just love to showcase them, and a lot of times the news items are really valuable for people. I got Bill Sotero calling and said, "Man, he's very informative." I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I would have to agree. But you mentioned something that they're releasing that on vinyl, and I noticed a lot more now. Vinyl is making a comeback. I haven't seen the record players.
Right, they said, who's got a record player today?
Right.
I was at this place Saturday night, and man, like 50 people held their hands up. There's a lot of people who still have record players, believe it or not.
Actually, some record players can get up to as much as $5,000 just for the record player.
Yeah, the old Victrolas and stuff. But I'm just amazed that vinyl making a very strong comeback now in the music industry.
Because the vinyl had more warmer tones to it than, let's say, digital does.
Well, the audiophiles that I know talk about the compression when they go to do the CD, how it compresses the sound and it doesn't sound as full. And you actually are missing some things that you would not miss had it been recorded on vinyl instead of digitally. So we think we're making things better, but look, what's old is new again, and that just goes to show you they don't make things the way they used to.
Yeah,
well, analog is really is still
and that includes music.
Analog is still in because, like I said, it has the warmer tones and stuff. One of my favorite artists, Tom Schultz, does not really like digital, and he's very big in developing his own electronics. You're familiar with Tom Schultz, right?
Yes.
Tom Schultz of Boston. I'd love to see them come back through. They have a female bass player now.
Everybody wants to be a bass player. There was no bass players when I started playing bass. Now I can't outrun them.
Yeah.
And they're all better than me.
Well, it's like when you're getting into a fight with somebody. There's always going to be someone better.
Oh yeah, I mean that just that goes to say. But as far as digital versus vinyl, I'm not that big of an audiophile to tell you to be honest with you. I mean wouldn't call myself an aficionado. I like it. Sounds good to me on CD. It's convenient. It's easy. I like carrying around my iPod, but the people in the know, guys I know who are true audiophiles and aficionados, say there's nothing like vinyl, and they're happy to see it making a comeback.
History repeats itself. That's an old saying, and people take the best of items that have been out there for a while and try to do more with them and that. And of course, it's something that's old. There's like old fashions in clothing, the old antique stores and that. And people dig that. People like to look back. And if you can produce it in a way that the sound is even better, man, then you got a major product,
Well, vinyl has most vinyl players require a needle on it. Now the more expensive ones have a laser, It's almost like a CD player, but
Exactly.
it still gets the warmer tones like you'd want in the older audiophiles.
Well, it just seemed odd to me because everybody's doing that non-linear editing and they're doing digital recording, so they're actually putting digital recording to vinyl. So how much really does that change the sound? I mean, what?
Well, that depends on your equipment. You could have if you could have the state of the art equipment, or you could have something that is a throwback from like 20 years ago.
20 years ago.
30 years ago. I'm sorry. Yeah.
30, 40 years ago. I remember going to my grandmother's house and playing music on a Victrola, the old, it was about as long as this table in front of us here, and you'd lift the lid and it had the FM
on 78
AM radio
speed.
in it. Yeah. So I still have some 78 records.
So do I. I actually have some 78s and some 45s. I've never seen a 16, though.
Oh, the 45s, forget it. My mother and my dad, I mean, when I was growing up, I used to just dig into their records all the time. They must have had 1,000.
Well, those were
Those
mainly
45s, you had to put the little disc in the center and slide it down.
Oh yeah, the little thing.
Yeah,
that was cool.
Yeah, it was cool, man.
You got them in plastic or metal ones. The metal ones kind of mess them up if you put them in there wrong.
Never saw a metal one, but I put a lot of plastic in that donut hole in the middle of those 45s growing up.
You know them, man.
I
don't know a lot about that. That's very interesting listening to that. I really appreciate you sharing that with me, because I remember my grandparents, and that, God rest them, listening to the music. And in those days, you go back to they didn't even have TV, like in the 30s. I don't, that was just the radio, and you had like Orson Welles coming up with these I always thought he was the first shock jock, a War of the Worlds.
Oh man,
that
was
and he was like the prelude to Howard Stern. So
I don't know if Orson Welles would appreciate that.
No.
Do I like I like Howard Stern?
Yeah,
I do like Howard Stern. Yeah, that was in the music that they had back in the day. My parents. I started listening to doo-wop stuff, stuff like the Four Seasons and the Cadillacs and stuff from the late 50s. My father worked at the airport and actually did work the flight the Beatles came in on at Idlewild when they came here to the States in '64. He was working for TWA then and was a ramp serviceman. So he was at the, sometimes you see those photographs of the Beatles arriving. My father's actually somewhere in that picture.
Oh, awesome.
Cool. Yeah. Him. So, he's wrote up in history there.
Yeah, and believe it or not, for a guy from New York, my father even turned me on to Johnny Cash, of all things, when I was like 10 or 11 years old. Living, just getting ready to leave New York City as a kid and come down here.
It must have been when he was getting ready to get with Bob Dylan and that. He had a falling out in Nashville on that, and he kind of went with some of the more prolific poets in getting into a wider genre of sound and that. And then he made a comeback. I don't think his label was Columbia, and that he had a real problem with people that he had a couple years that was kind of a drop for him. And then he picked it up and got with Bob Dylan, and he got that television show going, and so he just skyrocketed again. Major, amazing individual there. Perfect example of somebody that's on top, and then maybe has takes some drugs and then gets a little bit confused or something of that kind, and then gets back on track again, gets spiritual, gets born again Christian and all, and gets really intense and well liked, major performer. And of course getting with Bob Dylan in the rock world, pop rock world, is just is something that's unheard of in any day. It'll never happen again. So it's so amazing.
Never say never, Dave. Never say never.
I would like to see that, like see some other people like that, up and comers, but I don't know. Those people are so long gone, and they're so out there that I was talking to Wendy the other night about trying to get even a guitar teacher to get me to 150th where Eric Clapton is. Just anywhere touch, and we've got some good players around the county that I'm looking at right now, and that to mentor me and that to get to higher levels. Sometimes when you're playing, you get to a level, and I'm doing the same thing. You want your songs to be different, so I'm looking for variety and spice and really stellar performance. And when you mention names that are really iconic and are only one of a kind, it's so awesome. It's so It's so out there that it's just the idea. It's a spiritual thing, and I just kind of like to think about it.
Music is the universal language. There's no question about it, man. But my thing is the test of time. Some of those bands, some of those old doo-wop bands and the Four Seasons bands like that, I still enjoy listening to some of that stuff. And the guys who come down to our jam that we have, we spoke about that last week, and the guys who are out jamming and the bands that are out playing really missed out or have disregarded that era of music, except for the occasional remake of an old tune that you really don't recognize. And I don't know what I'm trying to say here other than that was some really good stuff. And if what's old's new again, maybe we should look back to get some inspiration moving forward, because the music scene right now, in my opinion, of course, just seems diluted with the same basic sound and structure at the moment. It's getting, I don't want to say stale, because there's some good talent, some good music out there, but as far as original stuff, something new, it's really not coming down the pipe that often in these times.
And I think we're going to find it with independent artists, because they're not bound by the contract. The contract, you get a hit record, and hey man, I can dig that, man. And I'm not putting anything down like that, but still, they start, they know it's going to be a success, so they keep cloning the same style and the sound.
Speaking of contracts, those of you who are are about to get a recording contract with a record company, be very cautious. You might want to really jump in, like a lot of them have done, but a lot of them have not made a single dime off of some of their stuff. So take it to a qualified attorney to look over all of your papers, especially a music attorney. There are a few of them here in the Tampa Bay area.
Yeah, that's good advice, Raj, because just like, record companies are like boxing promoters, they'll use you up, spit you out, and when they're done with you, and when your 15 minutes of fame, as they like to say, is over, and you'll find yourself with nothing if you don't use your head early. Don't get too excited by the hype.
Sort of like the band called Faith No More.
Yeah. Just don't let emotion overrule your logic, pretty much, is how it goes when you're dealing with a record company.
Yeah, that's definitely a point to be well taken. This is the RockitMan Show. We want to let you all know that we're here to talk about some rock music and get your views as well. So if you'd like to give us any comments or questions about the RockitMan Show and our co-hosts, call us in at 727-597-4022.
Somebody's got to be out there, so pick up the phone, give us a call.
Pick up the phone!
We did have a band you were telling me scheduled to be here at some point tonight. Either they're late or they're not going to make it.
Well, I had 3 bands so they were supposed to come up, but neither one of them showed. So we're hoping that the Protocol will be coming in next week.
Billy Eisner will be back with us now.
Yes, Billy Eisner, who is also sitting over here, will be in with Protocol. So he's switching from drums to guitar. So
he can do either one effectively, man. So it doesn't matter where you put him. He's a talented musician, like so many of the guys we know are, Raj.
Oh yeah,
Tim Cronin called in last week. Same deal: guitar, bass, drums. Eric Anderson, guitar. Drums. I don't know if Eric plays bass, but it wouldn't surprise. I haven't seen him do it, but it wouldn't surprise me if he could.
Well, I'm like myself. I play guitar, bass, drums, keys, and so on.
I've seen you do all 3 of those too.
Well, I did twice. 2 instruments. I'm playing some Rush. I miss doing that. I'd love to get everybody together and play some of the old stuff that I used to do, even the Doors, like Riders on the Storm. That was one of my favorites, too.
Yeah, that's a good tune, man. That's a killer tune.
That or Van Halen or something. I'm looking into other things, but my attentions lately is with the Dina Nickel Band, which might be on my show here. I'm not really sure when, because they've been on the show before, but that was before I became their drummer.
Well, that was the very first show I sat in with you on. They were here, the Dean and Nichols Band.
Yeah, that was a terrific show too. But I think our last show with you and and the rest of the band was pretty good.
The Eric Anderson band last week.
Yeah, Eric Anderson and
Billy Eisner and John Zahner were here last week. We had a good time with those guys.
Oh yeah, we had a great time. We're hoping that we'll see better times this year as far as broadcasting goes, and be as informative as we possibly can, and give you all an insight of what's coming up, like upcoming concerts, like the one I'm still looking for by Led Zeppelin.
Well, another band that's real close there, Metallica, geared as the #1 metal band by Rolling Stone magazine, is to headline the Summer Sonic Festival on Friday, January 11th. It was announced they will be heading to Japan this summer to headline 2 dates for the Summer Sonic Festival. The band had this to say. That's Metallica. The holidays are over and we're gearing up for a busy 2013, starting with some additions to the summer tour schedule. This time, it's not the usual European vacation. We're off to Japan for the Summer Sonic Festival. Look for us as the headliners on Saturday, August 10th in Tokyo at the QVC Marine Field, and on Sunday, August 11th in Osaka at the Maishima Summer Sonic site. So again, Metallica is on and moving. They #1, even over Black Sabbath. They're two very neck and neck, and we're so privileged to be here on Rock Slam Radio to announce many metal bands. And I know I got a new guitar by Dave Mustaine from Megadeth. Man, it's really awesome. And I didn't bring it tonight, but it's still amazing that there's some players out there that produce guitars that are in their style. And I was lucky. I was over at the Oldsmar. If any of you get over to the Oldsmar flea market on Saturday, there's a Daddy's Guitar Shop and that, and most of them are knockoffs and that, but still, I was in there playing and that, and the young man in there, that's a band guy, said, "Hey, I got one in the back that's a one of a kind. There's only one other guy playing this guitar anywhere in Tampa Bay," and that, and so brought it out. And the thing is, when you plug it in, it's just amazing, and that's what I wanted all amplified in that. So, there's a lot of jewels and Oldsmar. Hey, it's really hot, man. There's a lot of great stuff going on in Oldsmar, let me tell you.
Hey, all over the Tampa Bay area. We were discussing that last week. Music is very hot here. I know you go up to some of the places in the Northeast, some of the larger cities, man, live music is almost extinct. Everybody's gone to the DJ now, and the guy doing the whoop whoop with the records and all that kind of stuff. And so, I think, personally, in my opinion, we're really lucky to be in this area, the Tampa Bay area, in this time, because we still we love our live music down here.
Well, Tampa Bay used to be considered the heavy metal capital of the world at one time, but it is still like a music capital. Most people think of music capital in the United States as Nashville. Or
a lot of guys,
California.
A lot of guys go through Nashville. In fact, Billy Eisner, who we were talking about earlier, he makes a trip up there every year and does the tour.
Yeah, he said he got to meet a bunch of different people up there, doing some famous people up there. But we'd still like to see some famous people coming up on this show sometime.
Don't forget, we had Blue Oyster Cult, Rick Darmer and Ron Riddle. At the Boulevard Lounge Jam a couple of weeks ago, Eric Anderson spoke about that.
Yeah. Now, if you want to be on the off chance that you see somebody really famous to come around town and hang out in the bar, well, come out to the Boulevard Lounge in Newport Richey.
Yeah, jam night, Wednesday nights. We plugged the hell out of it last week, so I won't go there. I will tell you, though, they're starting up karaoke on Tuesdays, which is a lot of fun. I haven't done that in a long time. I might go check that out.
Hey, you know what, man? I love to do karaoke. If I'm not playing and singing, I want to work on the vocals, and it's an excellent way to extend your repertoire with music and take chances because nobody cares. But hey, there's a lot of vocalists out there that do karaoke at some of those contests, man, around town. They're amazing singers. They're professional singers, but they like to do that. There's one tonight. I'm just thinking about going to another one tonight, but that whole performance thing, you get that mic, you start, really kicking in it. And then by midnight, you get all the drunks in there and you say, "This is karaoke."
Yeah. Well, I know the Boulevard Lounge is starting that karaoke deal with Pete the Hat. Apparently, a guy puts on a pretty damn good show for karaoke from I heard. He brings his own light show on the stage with him. So So they're going to do that from, I think it's 8 to 11 on Tuesday nights down there at the Boulevard, and then they're going to run a drink special from 9 to midnight. I think it's 250 wells after the karaoke. But if there's people there, he'll hang out, from what I'm told, and do the gig. So that's on Tuesday, and then we follow that with the jam on Wednesdays.
Now, speaking of light shows, now the best light show I've seen around here by a local band is going to be coming up on after us. Floydsome. They do a kind of great light show for us.
Yeah, I heard they were really good. Unfortunately, I've not seen them perform yet, but I'm looking forward to doing that when they play a little closer to town here, because I've heard that they're really good at what they do.
Yeah, I saw that at Gasoline Alley when we had the opening kind of inaugural party, and Floydsome were performed. Jim was amazing with the lights and the smoke that he has in his special performance. I mean, it was just like as good as it gets anywhere, you know. And those bands that night, you know, that was last year at Gasoline Alley. I mean, they're on tour now. They go to Texas all over the place. There was some great bands.
Well, I think it's Terry that's actually doing the lights and all the sound for the band. You know, he's doing the sound for Dino Nickel Band too.
Hey, that's when you know you're moving up and your band's doing well, is when you've got a light and smoke show and stuff like that.
Yeah. You know. Put out the money for it.
Well, that's what it is. You go to a lot of places to see live music, and the bands are good. The music's good, don't get me wrong, but, you know, you very rarely do bands who travel the bar circuit or have an actual stage show with them. And, you know, when you're doing that, you know you're doing well and doing something right. And the same goes for this guy doing that karaoke, that Pete the Hat guy. Carrying a light show around with him. So imagine going up on stage, you know, regular karaoke singing, you get to feel like somebody famous for a few minutes.
Well, I'm not usually a karaoke fan, but I'd probably go in just to check that out.
I think I am myself. I think, you know, I used to sing a lot back in the day, as you know, Raj, you know, back in the old jam days.
Well, I haven't heard you here lately. So,
well, that's because what happened was I started playing, and that was the deal, is I sang for like 14, 15 years. At the Boulevard, and then I was like, all right, well, I really want to learn how to play something. Well, I started playing the bass, pretty much self-taught with a little help from my friends. Another Beatle reference. You guys know who you are.
Ringo!
Mark Allen and Tim Cronin and Billy Eisner and a bunch of those guys, you know, with a lot of help from them. Basically self-taught, though. I started playing, and I find that it's very difficult to sing and play at the same time. And then I was told that drums and bass position is one of the most difficult positions to do that from. And I'm just now, after 8 years, 10 years almost of playing, starting to be able to throw in a backup vocal here or there. So karaoke would be fun.
We'll say drums is the hardest one to do that from. You pretty much have to have a wireless headset to do that with.
Oh, it shreds my mind, even at the bass position, man.
And I'm considering now doing some singing in my band, you know, while I'm playing the drums, so
it's crazy, but that's why I think that karaoke will be fun. I'd like to. I'm going to go down there since it's back in town and just try to whip the pipes back up into shape and have a little fun. You know,
it's essentially you're tracking in that, especially if you put your performance, talking to the audience, setting them up, and that. You know, it's kind of like I just feel like it's a solo performance, but you know, you're reading it and it helps you memorize and so forth. And as well, I extended into the Rolling Stones read. I usually start off with Satisfaction and knocks them out in that. But you know, I was always put down at karaoke being a musician and that. So, but it's got its advantages. You know,
and it's just plain fun. I mean,
it's a lot of fun. You can still do it in front of that audience and not see the musician audience that you're used to seeing.
Yeah. Right.
And so you can actually get away with it.
Right,
because those guys, they carry those karaoke folks. They travel around in groups, man. They have their own little circuit.
Yeah,
where they go
ladies
around
here amazing in that. You know, they're always there with the big voices and that. Some of the ladies that have been singing a number of years in Tampa Bay, and they use that, you know, winning $400 and $500 in, you know, purse money in that. Maybe sometimes they split it up in that, but you know, karaoke, man. If you haven't had a chance, get out there. But still, some of the bars are very intimidating because the talent is so deep now. You know.
Yeah, well, I mean, but that's good.
That's why you wait until 12 o'clock so everybody gets drunk and nobody cares in that, man.
Hey, some people.
That's why it's karaoke.
Some people, I'm not mentioning any names, actually get a little better after a couple.
Yeah, they
Hopefully
can.
they do, man. A lot of them are slugging. Some of them don't know how to
So
sing.
I've been told.
Although in one of my instances, I was in a Styx tribute band, and we had a singer that sounded just like one of the singers from Styx, which there is two of them, and he could carry a tune up to a certain point, and then it'd falter. It'd go, oh. It sounded like a broken record. We eventually had to fire him, and the kicker was he's the one that started the band.
Oh,
And
yeah,
we fired him.
That's a joke. And we fired him, he says.
Hey, getting back to Black Sabbath, being number 2 of Metallica, and they're enlisting a band named Shihad for their upcoming tour in New Zealand. The veteran band is to support Black Sabbath on the tour. It'll be taking place this April and March, and will include several stops in New Zealand and Australia. Black Sabbath will be launching the tour in support of the forthcoming album, their first with the original frontman Ozzy Osbourne since 1977. Never Say Die. So again, Black Sabbath is back. There are a lot of major bands that are coming back in 2013, people, man. We mentioned a number of them around there. And we're hoping that Led Zeppelin gets it together too, man. That'd be
we're
amazing.
all looking for that one.
Yeah.
I would actually like to see them this time and not have to climb over a mountain of bodies and run away from the riot.
Yeah,
Because I was there for that, man. That was ugly.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've actually watched a band from out in Straw Park, out in a tree. I got the best audio sound from the tree than I did from being on the ground.
Now, what's the word on Ozzy, Dave? Is he doing another Ozfest soon? Isn't this about the time of year we start hearing about that?
Right now, he's working with his band to get this tour underway. He's been going back and forth to New Zealand. That's been a big favorite area for the Black Sabbath group, and I don't know, maybe they just like that area to stay down there and then down under, and he's been working down there with the Black Sabbath band to get this tour underway to put their pieces together. So he's pretty much involved with the band and coming back on a major tour here with the supporting band called Shihad. I'm not real familiar with them, but it sounds interesting.
So Ozzy's actually going to come back with them for sure?
Oh yeah. Ozzy is back the first time since the 1977s with the
That's
band.
a long time.
Wow. Yeah, but he had, his solo career was pretty damn good too. I mean, let's face it.
Oh yeah. He can pretty much go anywhere he wants and make money.
And do anything he wants. He's the king of darkness. It's Ozzy Osbourne, man. He can do or say just
They
about
don't call him
anything.
Black Sabbath for nothing, man.
I'm surprised though that they don't have to hire somebody to stand behind him and prop him up. And I say the same thing about Johnny Winter, who I saw a few years.
Yeah.
I saw Johnny Winter a few years ago down at Janice Landing, and the guy still plays
Oh man,
phenomenally.
does he still have that long white hair?
Yeah, he had the
That's
long
so
hair.
amazing, man.
But he could hardly stand up, and I'm like, look at this dude, man. Somebody ought to take him home and put him to bed. Yeah, he rocks, but I figured you could hire like one of the Munchkins from The Wizard of Oz to stand behind him or something.
Oh wow.
Prop him up on stage. I didn't know how he was standing there. I mean, the guy looked old, but he still kicked butt. He rocked.
Oh yeah. Well, I can't say that one of my favorite rockers still has his hair. That would be Peter Frampton. He actually has the longest running a live album, best-selling live album on record.
Frampton Comes Alive.
Yes,
I
Frampton
imagine.
Comes Alive.
Some great tunes came off of that album, man.
He has a number 2 album called Frampton Comes Alive number 2.
I haven't heard that one yet.
Oh yeah, it's got songs like Can't Stand It No More. I don't know if you've heard that one before.
No.
Well, it was a hit after Comes Alive album. Yeah,
But I want to say this about what Dave said when he said there are a lot of great bands making a comeback in 2013 that, for all intents and purposes, the young folks would consider, ancient, even though it's their inspiration these days. And I think the reason for that is let's get to the music, which is the key, because the music stands the test of time. And that, I mean, guys, look at Bowie. We talked about Bowie coming back at 60. The Stones have been together for 50 years. Give me a band from 1982 that's still out on tour. That's going to be remembered in 2018 or 2025.
Well, if you want to go way back for music, how about Bach and Beethoven? They're still being played today. How about that?
Yeah, if you're into classical, but I'm talking about rock music, moving music, stuff people want to play or hear on the radio. Guys like Bowie and the Rolling Stones and Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin and some of these bands we mentioned, these guys have withstood the test of time. I think we grew up probably in the greatest musical era in the history of man, the three of us, and I don't think we'll ever see another era like it.
Yeah, was that the 80s?
No, it was not the 80s.
Oh, okay. Well, 70s to up till now. That's the greatest era.
Even going back to the doo-wop bands, man. I mean, just the way they sang together, some of the a cappella bands that used to hang out in the streets.
So I'm going to be singing "I Found My Thrill on Blueberry Hill."
Why not, man?
Yeah,
that's
why
a
not?
timeless classic. Good. You were going to say something?
We need not to, from the glam of the 80s into the grunge with Nirvana being the iconic band for that change, and Dave Grohl being the drummer on that band. Dave Grohl has really charged since Kurt Cobain's demise, in that Dave Grohl has revealed the band lineup for his Sound City Players show at Sundance next week. The impressive collection of players for the January 18th date includes John Fogerty, Stevie Nicks, Slipknot, Corey Taylor, Nirvana bandmates Chris Novoselic and Pat Smear, also Foo.
Bless you.
The full Foo Fighters crew, Rick Nelson of Cheap Trick and Chris Goss and others. All the musicians are featured on the soundtrack for Sound City, the new film directed by Grohl, which will premiere at the Sundance Festival prior to the live show at Park City Live. So, you got somebody like Dave Grohl in a major band who's got his own Foo band that's amazing. He was even at the Kennedy Center for the presentation to the band's Led Zeppelin on stage there and playing. And so, just one character that's been moving through the decades, influencing the rock world and that. And I noticed I saw a picture of him, I think today, of one of his recent, within the last few days. And man, that guy's looking really good, man. I mean, he looks like a Jim Morrison kind of rocker, with that that guitar that he really does, that rhythm, that beat that he does with the rhythm style that he plays in. So, it's amazing how you have like the Ozzy Osbournes, the Dave Grohl, these people moving through bands and then coming back. Of course, we can't Nirvana. I know Nirvana will never be back, but still, the Foo Fighters are carrying on a similar tradition, but a lot different music style than Nirvana. For sure,
yeah, but my point being, and no offense to any Foo Fighter fans or Nirvana fans that may be tuned in, I'm just saying, are they going to be here, or is their music going to last 50 years, like Zeppelin, like the Stones, like the Beatles, like Black Sabbath, even bands like Three Dog Night back in the day? You still hear their stuff on occasion. I don't listen to the radio that often anymore.
Well, Nirvana definitely will. Nirvana has been an iconic change. I'm not so sure about the Foo Fighters, but still they're a modern band influence now, and there's no telling where Dave Grohl is going to go with it now. So who knows?
For me, it's like Green Day. I think may be one of those bands that might have some staying power.
Well, actually, Green Day. Everyone in Green Day has a family. Has families, and they still tour, and they're still touring. So they're another good one.
Well,
they actually came out with a few hit songs last year.
I mean, Jagger's got grandchildren. I mean, so do I. Hello to Sammy out there, by the way. I know he's watching, little dude. That's my little grandson out there. I know he's watching tonight.
All right. Well, maybe he can call in and say, hey, Grandpa, how you doing?
No, he doesn't call me Grandpa. I don't allow it. I'm too young for that.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm into some of the 80s and 90s stuff. I'd like to see some bands come back together, like Extreme. Have you heard of that? They did that. They did a song called More Than Words.
Oh, yeah, I remember that
If
song.
you don't like what you see here, get the funk out.
I'll tell you, you want to hear something obscure? They were a Canadian band from 1970, and some of their stuff really rocks, and very few people have heard of them. And it's a band by the name of Klaatu, Klattu.
Is that from that
Yes,
movie?
the Day the Earth Stood Still, the original, because this band came out in 1972, but I still have one of their CDs. I mean, they rock, and nobody's ever heard of them. Yeah, you should give them a listen. If you can find any of their music, Klaatu, check it out.
Yeah, Klaatu sounds like a really good band. I'd like to see. I'm not sure about some of these other ones. Like Live. Have you heard of them? Live.
Live. Yeah.
Okay.
Live. Yes, we're live.
Well,
yeah.
they have songs like Lightning Crashes, a bunch of other stuff, but they're another good band.
I'm kind of an odd guy when it comes to music, man. I like what I like, and most of that, seems to be 70s, 80s stuff, and later. And I kind of stay there because I haven't been inspired by much. There have been some bands. Triumph, I thought was a good band. I brought up Green Day before. I thought they rock. There are a couple of bands I've caught, excuse me, lately on the late night circuit, doing the Letterman and Leno shows and Craig Ferguson shows, who I saw Skinnerd on a couple of weeks ago. Man, they're still going at it. And I see some, potential and hear some interesting stuff coming up. How, and if they're going to catch on remains to be seen. But I think, like Dave said earlier, everything's cyclical. What goes around comes around. So we're starting to see some of those influences, I think, filter their way back into today's music.
And let us not forget a great band, Van Halen.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not Sammy Hagar. If you're listening out there, come on, Sammy, listen. I know you're down in Mexico making that tequila, but anyway, forget it. But David
Drinking
Lee,
it.
Yeah, you know it, man. I have some. David Lee Roth hints at a Van Halen tour announcement on Friday. David Lee Roth hints at Van Halen tour, shared an image of him and his trusty companion sheepdog Russ, along with the caption, "Start spreading the ... Now you can fill in the blanks, baby. Are we going to have a Van Halen tour?
Well, that would be what? This may be the second or third attempt they've tried to reunite.
It's been up and down, with David and Eddie. What are you going to do? Two major talents in that. I don't know. I don't know. I mean,
it's all about ego at that level, man. Come on, let's call it for what it is.
Not.
Well, I'm not knocking Van Halen and with David Lee Roth.
They rocked. I like Van Halen.
They really
and
rocked.
I was neglectful in not mentioning them.
I still liked I still liked Van Hagar. I don't think that David Lee could sing some of the Van Hagar songs like Sammy Hagar does. Sammy Hagar is a very big star in his own right. I mean, he could go anywhere and make money, just like a lot of these other musicians. I'd love to see one band that I think they just got back together. One newer, the Creed.
Creed, yeah. My brother likes them now. He turned me on to them. They had a lot of good music. I did enjoy them, I have to say.
Now, Creed is enjoyed by a lot of churches, too, because they have like a religious type of message that they put out. Which, by the way, I wanted to point out something to David Bowie. You had a heart attack several years ago. This is your chance to make good for the time that you have left. Make good with it. God's watching.
10 years he's been out of it really for 10 years off the scene. We haven't heard nothing from him. So I'm waiting to hear some tracks and some cuts off that new album. I'm looking forward to that coming out.
Yeah, but they'll be out in March and that, the middle of March and different time periods there. What I have here for that. But, that they stagger the announcement and that so that everybody can get ready for the releases. That's March the 8th in Australia. It's Bowie's forthcoming album, The Next Day. And March 12th in the United States and March 11th in other countries. So, it's happening as we speak now. This is all very current
March
news.
12th, where are they going to start at?
This is just the release of an album.
Okay.
This is no tour. This is the album we'll release. Remember the 14-track standard edition, 17-track deluxe version. Both are now available for pre-order on iTunes.
What isn't on iTunes these days? That's the question.
Well, the musicians, signed musicians, think they're going to lose money, but they actually work hard at making money. They make more money on their tours than they do, say, recording an album. Because they have all this paraphernalia that they're selling, which makes them a lot of money.
Oh yeah, well, it's become a marketing deal. You know, at your concert, you're making more in the T-shirts and the souvenirs and stuff than you are, I guess. I don't know. I mean, that seemed to be the direction it was going. So commercial, it just lost that. I don't know how to explain it. Just lost that feel at some point.
Pizzazz.
Yeah, just. You remember going to concerts back in the day. Like I saw Frank Marino. I remember going to the Florida World Music Festival in '78. Oh God, am I dating myself? It was Frank Marino, Mahogany Rush, Brownsville Station, Cheap Trick, Ted Nugent, and Aerosmith. I mean, and it just
wow, what a concert!
Yeah, that was the Florida World Music Festival in '78. And I remember driving over to Orlando the night before and setting up a tent, and we camp out. And, just have a big party and barbecue and, get inebriated before the concert.
That sounds more like livestock.
But all that stuff seemed to taper off as the 80s moved in and we moved into the 90s. They don't have that feel anymore.
Well, they got the club scene, the dance scene, the glitz and that, it wasn't so much of the camping out. But you do see it in the folk festivals, the Florida folk, the festivals we have around Florida that are Will McLean is a perfect example. Gamble Rogers up in St. Augustine. You have that camp out feeling, but it's a different style of music, obviously. I don't know about the rock. Of course, the Sundance Festival. You have some of them around. Austin City. You have a lot of them in Austin. Texas is big for outdoor rock festivals and that.
Well,
Chicago too, man.
As much as we'd love to be talking on here all day, we're being signaled that we have to go away here soon. So this is the RockitMan Show. We appreciate everybody for tuning in and our co-hosts here for coming up. And we want to say thank you for tuning in, and be sure and tune in 7:30 to 8:30 next Monday.
Appreciate it, Raj. Nice to be here. Don't forget Tuesday night karaoke and Wednesday night jam at the Boulevard Lounge down in 6210 Grand Boulevard, Newport Richey.
That's it.
Don't forget the David J. Show on Sunday, 8:30 to 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
So we want to say thank you all for showing up on your computer screens, and we want to say this is the RockitMan Show. We'll see you next week. See ya.
What was that? I'll tell you what that was. That was another fine show from RockSlamRadio.com. Yeah.